Hey guys, welcome to 𝑽𝒊𝒐𝒍𝒆𝒕. Today we called Gold Mine featuring our Galarian Perrserker V with the new Forretress from Scarlet and Violet with a continuous spin attack doing 50x damage for each heads that you flip coins with. So you get to flip a coin until you have a tails, and that means you are able to do unlimited damage with this attack. You have the potential to do unlimited damage, but if you flip the first tails, you're actually doing 0 damage with this attack. It is only 1 metal cost though, so with the potential of doing, for example, 250 damage if you flip 5 heads. If you're lucky enough to flip 5 heads, you can actually do a EX knockout, a basic EX knockout like a Miraidon, easy for your first or second strike. So for your first strike, obviously you won't be as lucky, but after doing it 2 or 3 times, you would possibly get some damage in the game, and that allows us to draw cards as well. So continuous spin is an attack that allows you to flip coins until you get a tails, and that means we are definitely getting a tails with that attack. And since Blunder policy allows you to draw cards as long as you flip a tails with an attack, with the effect of an attack, you actually are able to draw 3 cards each time you use continuous spin with that tool card attached. So all we need is 1 Blunder policy and 1 energy on our Forretress to be able to draw 3 cards every single turn every time we use this attack. We also have our Radiant Jirachi, by the way, to do Astro Misfortune for a free knockout if we get 2 hits with this coin flip attack as well. If we get 1 tails or 2 tails, we are not doing the knockout, but at least we're drawing 3 cards if we have the Blunder policy attached to Jirachi. And we also get to draw another 3 cards. We also get to search for an additional 3 cards if our opponent knock out Jirachi in the active without Path to the Peak in play. So if they have a Path to the Peak in play, obviously Jirachi's ability does not work anymore. But if they don't have that stadium though, we get to do Entrusted Wishes, searching our deck for any 3 cards, put them into our hand after they do a knockout with Jirachi in the active spot. Obviously, if Jirachi is knocked out on the bench, or if it is knocked out by special conditions or damage counters, you don't get to actually use this Radiant ability to search to add 3 more cards into your hand. If they knock it out easily in the active with damage from an attack, you get to add 3 more cards, and that means you're doing 60 more damage with your Treasure Rush on your next turn with your Galarian Perrserker. So Galarian Perrserker is doing 20 more damage if you guys don't already know, 20x damage for each card in your hand, and it's doing big damage. As long as you have 15 cards in your hand, you get to do a V-Star knockout with 1 hit. You get to do a VMAX knockout if you have 16 or 17 cards in your hand, which is quite easy if we use our Blunder policy and also our Entrusted Wishes, right? If we use our ability at the right time, if we use our Blunder policy for Forretress as well, we get to draw cards every single turn with not just the tool, we also get to draw cards with our supporter, drawing 4 cards with Schoolgirl and Schoolboy, or even at least 3 with your Avery and Wallace. So Wallace actually gives your opponent the choice whether to give you that extra 1 draw. If they choose to draw 1 more card, you actually are allowed to draw 4 cards with this supporter. If they choose not to draw any cards, then you are actually not allowed to draw that extra 1. So you're only drawing 3 cards if they choose not to give you that, but it's okay. We at least got triple draw, which is actually more than our Schoolboy or Schoolgirl if we don't have the exact price on our opponent's field. If our opponent has exactly, for example, 3 price remaining, we can't actually draw 4 cards with our Schoolgirl. We have to play a Schoolboy, and we may not get the Schoolboy in our hand, and that's the reason we're playing 1 Wallace and also 3 Avery, just in case we get our Schoolgirl or Schoolboy at the wrong time. We also have our Arven to search for our tool cards, 4 copies of our Blunder policy with 1 Galarian Chestplate for us to tank more damage with our Galarian Perrserker, just because it is a Galarian Pokemon, and with that tool card attached, Galarian Perrserker is actually able to tank up to 220 damage without getting KO'd. So if it gets damaged by 230 damage though, if it gets damaged by Miraidon EX, for example, Miraidon EX without any 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒄 VMAX on the bench is only hitting 220 base damage. If they attack with the 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒄 VMAX as well, trying to tank damage, trying to avoid the knockout from Treasure Rush, just because we need a lot more cards in our hand to be able to KO a VMAX, and that's probably the reason why they would be attacking with the 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒄 instead of the Miraidon. Miraidon can actually do a knockout on our Galarian Perrserker quite easily, just because 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒄 has the ability that allows it to do more damage. But if they attack with the 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒄 VMAX, expecting us not to be able to do the knockout, we would probably be able to by the time we get our Perrserker out. So we have to play this at the last minute though. We do have our Raihan 2 copies to be able to do a last minute bench and get enough energy in the game within a single turn, attack with Treasure Rush right after benching this Pokemon. So the reason, the way we're playing that is with our Cyclizar. So Cyclizar allows you to retreat freely after benching your Perrserker within the same turn, do a Raihan and switch this Pokemon into the active spot by retreating with your free retreat Cyclizar, allowing you to attack right after benching with your Treasure Rush, doing a VMAX knockout easily after drawing multiple cards with your Radiant Jirachi's ability and also the Blunder policy. So if they attack with the Ilaki VMAX, I've repeated this already, but if they attack with it, they're only doing 20 damage, which is actually not enough if you have that Galarian Chestplate attached to your Perrserker, and surviving one hit actually allows you to do Treasure Rush again a second time with the same Perrserker, and that's a big deal because you're doing so much damage with your Treasure Rush. If you get to hit twice with a single Perrserker, that's a huge bonus. So that's the reason why we're playing our Galarian Chestplate for this deck. We also have our regular setup cards, 3 VIP Pass, 3 Nest Ball, 1 Level Ball, and 1 History Ball to get any basics from the prize for us to get a good setup. Setting up our bench early allows us to evolve fast and start smashing some damage, start collecting some damage in the game so that we actually get to collect the knockout, finish off those Pokemon's EX or Vs in the active with our Treasure Rush. With lesser cards in our hand, we actually get to do a knockout with this Pokemon. So all we need is, for example, 14 cards in our hand to kill off a V-Star. If we have 11 cards in our hand, after drawing with our Radiant Jirachi's ability and also the Blunder policy, it could actually be enough for us to do the knockout. If they already have, for example, 5 damage counters on it from our continuous spin, we just need 11 cards or even less in our hand to be able to do a knockout with our Treasure Rush. For our first knockout though, for our second knockout, we got our experience share to help us charge up the next Perrserker on a bench right after the first one gets knocked out, while also playing a supporter card to draw even more cards into our hand. With a Miriam, we get to draw as well. We also get to draw cards with Schoolgirl and Schoolboy, obviously adding more damage to our Treasure Rush, helping us do more damage with our next Perrserker. So like with any decks that rely on having a big hand like Indeedee or Galarian Perrserker V, we need our Milotic to do deal guard, protecting our hand against cards like Judge or Iono from the next set, where our opponent is able to force us to do much less damage with our Treasure Rush. They are actually able to use supporter cards to force us to shuffle back our hand and essentially draw a lot less cards than we used to have, basically forcing us to do a lot less damage with Treasure Rush. So that's what we want to be avoiding, and that's the reason we have Milotic from Evolving Skies helping us deny our opponent from shuffling our hand with a supporter card. We also have our Metagross from Silver Tempest allowing us to draw, giving us the potential of drawing even more cards. If we draw this Pokemon from the top deck during our turn, we get to bench it directly and also draw 3 more cards from the deck as we put this Pokemon onto the bench. With an ability, we get to draw 3 cards. With the supporter card, we get to draw 4 more cards. With the tool card, we get to draw even more. And also with Radiant Jirachi, we get to search for an additional 3 cards. So that's a lot of cards that we're adding into our hand in addition to Jirachi. And that's the reason we're playing Rescue Carrier as well. So Rescue Carrier allows you to not just add more cards into your hand, giving you the extra 20 damage potential, but also helps you to play Jirachi a lot more. If you can play your Astro Misfortune a lot more often with your experience share on your Jirachi while attacking with your active Forretress, even if they do a boss on your Jirachi, you're getting even more cards into your hand with this Entrusted Wishes ability, and that's actually going to guarantee you an easy knockout with your Treasure Rush later on in the game using Galarian Perrserker for massive knockouts. We also have 1 lucky energy to help us draw an extra card each time our opponent damages the Pokemon with this special energy attached. We actually get to draw 1 more card into our hand. We can actually attach it to our Jirachi to satisfy the colorless cost. We can also attach for Treasure Rush since it is 1 metal and 1 colorless, but we actually are not able to satisfy the attack cost for continuous spin since it needs 1 metal, and that's the reason we only have 1 copy for this deck with 7 basic metal energy. Finally, we're also playing 1 boss for the shop power play, 1 Escape Rope for the switch, 1 Manaphy for the bench barrier, 1 Arezu, 2 Ultra Ball, 1 Great Ball, 1 Capturing Aroma, and 1 Mesagoza to get our evolution. So that's all for the deck list. Now let's go for some gameplay and see how well this deck works. Okay, let's go for our first game. We're up against Arceus V-Star with Giratina. They got Star Requiem or Star Birth. They obviously can't play both V-Star power in a single game, so they have to choose though. If they play for more consistency with the extra search, they're not allowed to do the insta KO with Star Requiem. I feel like Arceus is a lot better. If you use Arceus for the ability, for the V-Star power and only use Giratina for the Lost Impact, I feel like that's good enough because Lost Impact is doing a lot of damage, and you obviously need to lose 2 energy every single turn though. But if you play Trinity Nova twice, you got enough energy to do Lost Impact twice. I'm not sure if you need Giratina to attack twice for that many knockouts. I'm actually not sure with this deck, right? Giratina is honestly one of the worst V-Stars if you ask me, just because you are losing energy every single turn, and there isn't many ways to recharge the energies. Mirage Gate obviously demands Comfy and, you know, basically the Lost Bog engine, and you only are able to fit in up to 4 copies in a deck. You can only play it 4 times, and if you lost too many energies though, if you have way too many energies in the lost zone, you obviously can't attack anymore. So I'm not sure how you're gonna survive that. Like, how you're gonna survive after not being able to attack without any energies in play. You got obviously your Sableye to do Lost Mine to finish off the game with damage counters, but if you don't play Sableye, I don't think it's possible. Arceus with Giratina, I'm not so sure. Because how many energies are you gonna need to fit into the deck? How many times can you actually pull off Lost Impact? And Arceus, well, I'm not sure how great Arceus is right now in Standard, because Miraidon can quite easily do a one-hit KO. Miraidon with Eleki VMAX, all they need is 2 Eleki VMAX or even 1 Choice Belt and a VMAX on the bench to be able to kill off an Arceus with 1 hit using its Photon Blaster attack. So we kind of gotta play new cards now. Giratina, I feel like it still doesn't work. I don't know why everyone's been like... I have no idea how top players are actually choosing to play Giratina when it's so bad. But I guess you could choose to play the Star Requiem for easy knockouts against Goodra V-Star. You could quite easily just play, you know, cards that can do big damage, like maybe Gardevoir EX with Zacian, hitting high damage with Storm Slash. You don't actually need your Giratina, you don't need Star Requiem, you just need, you know, the right mons to hit enough damage. Because all you need is 350 damage to kill off a Goodra with 1 hit. You don't actually need to worry about using effects of attacks for the knockout. That obviously is a lot easier, but you can still think about, you know, doing big damage with your decks, whatever deck they're playing. Obviously, one-hit knockouts are a big thing now because there are so many tankers. There's Rock Chestplate in Standard right now. There is V-Guard still in play, still actually doing a lot of damage reductions. Since we only have nothing but Gyarados that can do a one-hit knockout for EX. Any other cards that's doing big damage for a rule box Pokemon obviously is a V-Star or V-Max. So I feel like you don't really need the Star Requiem. It's kind of a shit V-Star power, because you still need 10 cards in the Lost Zone before you're actually able to play that V-Star power, which is quite terrible. You're kind of forced to play the Lost Box with the Giratina, and if you play the Lost Box, you have to kind of play Cramorant and Sableye, which is kind of boring, if you ask me. It's kind of like, you know, you're forced to do that set combo. And there's just no point doing that, because it's already... Lost Box on its own is good enough. Adding a Giratina is just gonna make it worse. If you play Lost Box with Radiant Charizard or even Lost Box with Echoing Horn Sableye, you can just do Lost Box with Galarian Moltres now. Like, there are so many combos with one-price Lost Box decks that are so solid, so much more powerful than that Giratina V-Star, that I don't know why people are playing that. It's honestly so bad. It makes no sense how it managed to just, you know, win games for those top players. I have no clue how they managed to win any game with that fucking Giratina. Anyways, so we got our Galarian Perrserker in our hand, and the reason we're benching it right now, we actually did bench it on this turn, which is quite silly. The reason we're benching it though is because we have no Cyclizar. So if they knock out the Jirachi on the next turn, we have to play an Escape Rope, and we don't really want to do an Escape Rope because they're just going to give us the Bidoof for the knockout for only 1 price. So we kind of have to just bait them by benching, well, not really bait them, just to prepare for our attack. We if we get boss, it would still be okay because we at least would have Jirachi in the active to flip coins more times for 𝑑𝒂𝒍𝒅𝒂. Oh my god, we actually got a knockout right here. Okay, we got a knockout earlier than I expected. So we got our first V-star kill for 2 prize. Now we just need 2 Perrserker to finish off the game by doing 2 more V knockouts. So on the next turn, not on this turn, on the next turn they actually did a boss on the Perrserker, which is quite sad. But if we didn't bench the Perrserker though, can you imagine? If they kill off the Jirachi, we would have Milotic in the active, and then we play an Escape Rope with the Raihan. It would be quite difficult because we would need to play our Nest Ball. We have Jirachi for the search though. We can search for the Nest Ball, we can search for Escape Rope, and we even have Raihan in our hand. So I feel like even then it would still be good. I'm not sure. If we have a Nest Ball or something, if we had some other Pokemon on the bench, we could have just attached 1 energy on a Feebas, for example, for the retreat cost, for us to retreat onto a Perrserker. After they kill off the Jirachi, we actually get to retreat back to the Perrserker and do Raihan for us to satisfy the attack cost for Treasure Rush, doing big damage for a huge knockout immediately after they kill our Jirachi. So we can easily satisfy the retreat cost while also satisfying the attack cost for us to play Treasure Rush within the single turn, doing a big knockout after playing our Jirachi for the ability as well. But unfortunately, we didn't get any Pokemons to bench for that turn, and we were actually kind of forced to play the Perrserker. So now we have the final list. Finally had a Galarian Chestplate on it. So Galarian Chestplate is actually making this set a lot better because if you have 230 HP essentially, because they need 230 damage to knock out your Perrserker with that tool card attached. If they are doing 220 damage with Photon Blaster without 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄 on the bench, if they play any other Pokemons that hit 220 damage, like Raikou for example, they are actually not able to knock out. If they have 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄, obviously Raikou can do a knockout. But if you don't play enough bench though, I'm not sure if Raikou can actually do it. Because if you have, for example, only 2 Pokemon on the bench, Raikou is doing a lot less damage, right? Even with 𝑬𝒗𝒐𝒂𝒓𝒄's damage boost, Raikou is definitely not able to do a knockout on the Perrserker if you have that tool card attached. Suicune, Entei as well. Entei obviously can do a 1-hit knockout because it's a fire type. But if they play any other, basic Vs that isn't doing enough damage, isn't doing more than 220, you can actually survive 1 turn, and that's going to give you another big knockout with your Treasure Rush. You're going to be able to do Treasure Rush 2 times in a row with a single Perrserker, and then finish off the game with your second Perrserker doing Treasure Rush the 3rd time for another huge VMAX or V-Star knockout. Whatever, you can kill anything basically. You can kill anything. All you need to do is get enough cards into your hand. And we have Blunder Policy, we have Schoolgirl, Schoolboy, we have Metagross, we have even our Entrusted Wishes to get additional cards into our hand with a Radiant ability. So this deck is super fun. It's not always, it doesn't always work that well though, but I would say 60-40 success rate is kind of reasonable. Just because you are flipping coins for your Forretress, you are flipping coins for 𝑑𝒂𝒑𝒂𝒓𝒄. So if you don't get the first knockout, we have Galarian Chestplate for the safety. But obviously, if they play more than 230 damage, more than 220, they will be able to kill off your Perrserker. So no guarantees, but this deck is pretty solid though. If you're lucky with your coin flips, you can actually have less cards in your hand. If you haven't drawn enough to do a 1-hit knockout against a full HP V-Star, for example, you would still be able to kill it off, finish off, top off for the knockout with your first Perrserker by playing Treasure Rush. Even with 11 cards or even 10 cards in your hand, you would still be able to do your first knockout using Perrserker, and then for your second and third one, you can actually play the second Perrserker to finish off the game. So ideally, we want to be doing 1 knockout with 2 or 3 Forretress and 1 Jirachi. If we can either play 𝑑𝒂𝒑𝒂𝒓𝒄 for a knockout, or our continuous spin to play enough damage. If we use it enough times for 1 knockout, using 2 or 3 Forretress in a row, we could actually win the game a lot easier by playing only 2 Perrserker. That would be enough. Then we wouldn't need to worry about 1 being knocked out. we wouldn't need our Chestplate to tank damage for us to avoid the knockout. So we could have obviously our Galarian Chestplate prized, and we have no Peonia for this deck. We only are playing one copy, and you know, that's the reason I say it's always better to think about doing a first knockout with your one prize Pokemons before pulling out your Perrserker to hit to smash big damage. Before starting you know, to do one-hit KOs for Treasure Rush, you should be thinking about trying to kill off one or two prize, getting one or two prize with your Forretress, because that would make your game a lot easier. It would make your game a lot smoother, and you know, you wouldn't have to worry too much about the knockout. So we got the Schoolgirl. We have two prize remaining. I think we got the win right here. I'm pretty sure we got the win right here. So we got the Raihan and the energy. Raihan actually gives us an additional search as well, but Raihan obviously is not, you know, you are not allowed to play Raihan if your Pokemon gets knocked out during Pokemon Checkup. If you play damage counters to knock out your Pokemon on the bench as well, you are actually still allowed to play Raihan, just because it says specifically if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. But if it's knocked out during Pokemon Checkup, then you're not allowed to play it. So poison, if they poison you to death, if they burn you to death, or if you get confused, if you knock yourself out with special condition, for example confusion, then you are actually not allowed to play Raihan. Obviously confusion works differently because you are passing your turn you know, after attacking, but you get the point. Raihan is not perfect, and sometimes I prefer Marnie's Pride. Normally if I play a Raihan deck, I would have at least one Marnie's Pride in there just for security, just because they could actually play Galarian Soaking VMAX or any other poison Pokemons that actually, like we have Toxicroak EX now. If they kill us with special conditions, if they use poison with Hisuian Sneasler, Radiant Hisuian Sneasler to add the damage counters, then we would actually get knocked out during Pokemon Checkup, and we're not allowed to play Raihan for that situation. So we have to be extra careful. So we also have one experience share which also doesn't work if they knock us out with special conditions. That's the funny thing. Experience share is even worse, because if they knock you out on the bench, if they knock out one of your bench Pokemon, if they use damage counters for the knockout, it doesn't actually allow you to transfer the energy onto your bench with that tool card attached. It has to be knocked out. Your active Pokemon has to be knocked out with damage from your opponent's attack for you to be able to move that energy onto one of your bench Pokemon. Otherwise, that tool card is not going to help you satisfy the attack cost for your next attacker by moving energies back onto the bench. So experience share is even worse. Raihan is not perfect, and Marnie's Pride is only giving you that one energy from the discard pile. It only allows you to attach onto your bench Pokemon as well, and it has no other effect, which is quite terrible. And I'm not sure what supporter cards to play right now, honestly. If we play Melanie, it kind of fits in with Treasure Rush, helping us do more damage as well. But Melanie demands you to play Water Energy, and we can't actually afford to play two different types of energy just because Forretress requires Metal for it to do continuous spin. If we don't get the Metal Energy early game, we would be screwed, not being able to attack. And if we don't attack, we cannot draw cards with Blunder policy. And that's the reason we're playing only Metal with one Lucky Energy for this deck. We have no Energy Search just because we're not playing two different types of energy. Even with Energy Search, you kind of need two Arven. And if we play Arven, we're not drawing as much cards as we would like. Arven is only getting you one extra item in addition to the tool card. And if you're attaching the tool card as well and searching for the energy with Arven, that means you would be using up those cards that you've drawn. And you will essentially be doing a lot less damage with your Treasure Rush later on using Galarian Perrserker for 20x. Only 20x is not really that much. You kind of need a lot of cards in your hand. Even with Blunder policy, because you have to evolve and attach the energy in addition to the tool card, you are using up a lot of cards for you to play Forretress every single turn. If you play Jirachi as well, it needs two colorless, so you are required to attach two energies, possibly the experience share as well, onto Jirachi, just to play the Extra Misfortune. If you play the Blunder policy on Jirachi, it could actually work. It could help you do the knockout a lot easier, just because for some reason, if you have Blunder policy attached, they automatically give you a higher chance of flipping heads, because for some reason this game doesn't like you drawing that many cards. So if you have Blunder policy, you would have a higher chance essentially of drawing for flipping more heads with your coins, and that's the reason we're playing Blunder for our Forretress and also for Jirachi. If you get a Tails with Jirachi, at least you're drawing 3 cards, and you're essentially drawing 6 cards with a Radiant Jirachi if they do a knockout on it, because you have the extra search as well, the search support, helping you do 120 more damage with your Perrserker, which is insane. So anyways, right now we're up against Miraidon EX with the classic Regieleki VMAX combo. They have also 𝒂𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒄 against Lost Box. A really good counter against any one price decks that play, you know, basic abilities. So the reason we were spamming with the emojis, the thumb downs emoji, is because this player actually took really long to decide for every single move that they are making. They took a long time, and I had to edit out so many pieces from this video just to make this watchable. So it's really frustrating. That's the reason I'm putting that thumbs down so many times for this player, is because they're taking a lot longer than you would expect for us. And a simple move in Pokemon TCG Live, a simple move like playing the electric generator, a simple move like doing the research, they took so long for every single move that they're making. And that really is super frustrating. Like, you guys have no idea. I had to edit out so many parts of the video. If I didn't, you guys would be waiting for ages just for them to make a simple move. It's just ridiculous. It's honestly fucking ridiculous. It makes no sense for them to be taking so long just to play an electric generator. Are you fucking serious? They literally just waited for 2 whole minutes and played an item card, and after that they force us to wait another 2 minutes before playing the research. How stupid is that? How stupid is that? And then after that, another 2 minutes. Every single move they make, every single bloody move. I'm sorry guys, I had to vent, otherwise like people would just keep doing this stupid shit, and it's not acceptable. Like, if you want to play this game, play it properly. Stop making people wait. Come on. Why are you playing this game if you are just stalling for no reason? If you just want easy wins, why are you playing this game? They're kind of forcing me to concede. I'm not gonna concede. I'm never gonna concede. No way. No fucking way. You're not gonna get an easy win from me. So we got our Feebas in the active. They gave us a beach court, and that's the reason we have it. So we're just gonna bench the Perrserker right now. I'm not sure if we have the knockout though. Do we have the knockout right here? So we got the Forretress. I think we're just gonna play our continuous spin, because we obviously don't have enough for the VMAX knockout. Oh, we don't have the we have the Raihan, but we don't have an energy in the discard pile. And that's probably the reason why we didn't use our Treasure Rush, is because we don't have enough energies for the attack. So we have the Blunder policy. We got no heads, unfortunately. We just gave them the first thumbs up. We got no heads. But we are drawing 3 cards though. So we got Cyclizar. Even if they play a worker or any other stadium cards to remove the beach court, we would have our Cyclizar for the free retreat, so we're good. Cyclizar is actually a very fun card right now. Free retreat is helping Magma Basin. Free retreat is helping a lot of decks, honestly, and is you know, it has a lot more HP than Cuss Form. But before rotation though, we had Tapu Koko, right? Post rotation we have Cyclizar, but Tapu Koko is basically the exact same thing. It has an attack that actually allows you to draw 2 cards for 1 colorless. Spike Draw or something. I'm not sure if it's Spike Draw though. Spike Draw actually does damage as well. I don't think Tapu Koko is doing any damage. So drawing 2 cards for 1 colorless and then having 100 HP for free retreat cost card is actually pretty, you know, is very convenient. Very useful for normal decks that rely on free retreat. So Free Retreat is giving us the surprise element. It helps us do a surprise Raihan for the surprise Treasure Rush, and that actually gives us a surprise knockout using our Perrserker for big damage. And that's the reason we are playing Cyclizar for this deck. Okay. We should maybe attach the Galarian Chestplate right now. I'm not sure though. Do we attach the Chestplate this turn or maybe on our second Perrserker? So we should have attached the Lucky Energy. We have it in our hand. I'm not sure why we didn't do that. We have the bloody Lucky Energy right in our bloody hand, and we just didn't use it. So we played the Chestplate because they have 3 prize remaining, and if they kill off the Perrserker on their next turn, they just need an Escape Rope or a boss to finish off a Milotic or even the Cyclizar for the last prize. So that's the reason we attach the tool card right now. We had to, we have no choice. Just to help us survive one more turn with this Perrserker, giving us 2 more prize before we actually play the second Raihan to charge up the second Perrserker for our final strike, winning the game by killing off 3 V Pokemons in a row. So if they play the Klefki can't attack though. That's the good thing about this game, is that Klefki has kind of a nerf on itself. It can't really do that much damage, and there isn't really a good hit and run right now, except maybe Iron Threads. There isn't really a proper hit and run at the moment. No 1 price hit and run, which is a really good thing. We have Mienshao though. Mienshao could actually return for standard, but I'm not sure if it's strong enough. Mienshao with Klefki would be really interesting, right? Rapid Strike Mienshao helps you do 90 damage every single turn, shuffling back that Pokemon and all attached cards back into the deck, while also confusing your opponent's active, and locking their ability at the same time would actually do a big deal, right? You're confusing them, you're locking their basic abilities. That would actually possibly, make for a powerful control deck. Who knows? Okay. Here comes the Escape Rope. I don't think they're going to be able to win that easily. Maybe they're just buying time for them to get they're not able to do enough damage with the basic though, right? The basic, like, he's doing 30 more damage for each VMAX they have in play, but its Lightning Wall is only hitting 100 base damage. So even with the damage boost, it's not able to kill our Perrserker with 1 hit. I don't think we need to be too worried, because we played Avery on the previous couple turns. We played Avery a lot of times, and they chose to discard their Miraidon. So that would probably have been the worst decision that they've made for this game, because Miraidon would have given them the knockout on the Perrserker, since they have the damage boost from Elike VMAX. So their only hope now, honestly, is the Choice Belt. If they have the Choice Belt on the VMAX, they can actually do 250 damage on our Perrserker, reduced by 30 is actually 220 damage, and that's enough to kill us off with the Chestplate on. So if they have the Choice Belt, they could be buying time for them to get the tool card. If they can dig for the Choice Belt in time, I feel like they got the win. So they have 2 prize remaining. It's kind of sad that they just need that extra 10 damage. They just need 10 more damage. Isn't that sad? A Vitality Ban even would actually help them do a Perrserker knockout right now for the last 2 prize. But since we are doing a big knockout, we actually did a boss right now on the VMAX, because they could have no more Elike VMAX. Evolve the 3rd one, and then Choice Belt is no longer going to do enough damage boost for them to KO our Perrserker with 1 hit, and then we got the extra turn to basically finish off for the last 1 prize. We just need 1 remaining prize now, with another Treasure Rush, killing off any Pokemon with 1 hit for an unexpected win. Because no one's ever going to expect Perrserker to be back in standard, smashing games like crazy. It's basically a more powerful version of Indeedee. The old hand kinesis that we used to play with Crobat is actually still legal for standard though. That Indeedee is actually still legal. But we have instead our Galarian Perrserker V, a V card doing 20x damage, which is a lot more than 10x. For hand kinesis, only 10x, and that means you need to draw about 20 plus cards for it to do just as much damage with Perrserker. Perrserker needs half as much cards in your hand. You need to draw half as much cards to do the same amount of damage with your Indeedee, but obviously you are losing to prize if they KO your Perrserker. So that's the bad thing about it. It has also only 200 HP, which is quite terrible, but it is a Galarian Pokemon, and we are making use of that to play our Galarian Chestplate. So it's a super fun deck. We even have our Metagross to help us draw cards as well, doing the Nugget effect. Nugget is no longer standard, is kind of rotated out for Rebel Clash. So Nugget allows you to draw 3 cards. If you draw it from the top deck during your turn, as you start out the turn, before doing anything else, if you draw it from the top deck, you get to basically play that item instantly to draw 3 cards. Same goes for Metagross. You get to play that Pokemon onto your bench and then draw 3 cards with this ability, while also putting a stage 2 directly into play, which is pretty cool. It's a very, very fun card for Perrserker, just because it also requires metal energy to attack. So it requires 1 metal and 1 colorless as well to do 100 damage. For a stage 2 card is pretty strong. And then for your next hit, if it survives 1 turn, on the next turn you get to do 100 more damage with the same attack. So you're doing 200 damage on the next turn if you play that attack on your last. So it's a very interesting attack. If you get knocked out though, obviously your next Metagross is only doing 100 damage all over again. So it's not really that powerful. 170 HP is quite low. So anything in standard right now can obviously kill off the Metagross with 1 hit. Even Gardevoir, Suicune, anything. It's quite easy to hit 170. And, we're not hoping to do a lot of damage with Metagross. It's basically there for us to draw more cards. So that we are doing a lot more damage with Perrserker. We are only playing 2 copies for this deck because it's a lot harder than you think for us to play the ability. We have no Expedition Uniform as we did for our Mustard. If you play Expedition Uniform, you get to arrange your deck. If you have Metagross at the bottom 3 cards of your deck, you get to put it at the top for you to play your ability on the next turn to draw more cards using not just Blunder policy, but also Emergency Entry, which is going to make the game a lot more fun. Because nobody ever uses Metagross in standard. I mean, anyone who plays that card knows it's not really that powerful. It's a very chancy card. We have no more Oranguru to do Primate Wisdom. We have no more Rotom Phone for standard. And that's the reason I feel like Expedition Uniform is the only good card if you want to play Metagross. You can also think about playing Primordial Altar. Primordial Altar works really well for Kyurem VMAX, as we said on our last video, but you could actually play it for Metagross as well, right? If you have, for example, if you have finished everything, just before attacking, just before finishing your turn by doing the attack, you can actually play the Stadium card to look at the top card of your deck. If it's not a Metagross, obviously discard it. So it gives you a higher chance of you playing the ability. Obviously, if you have a Milotic in play, they can't actually force you to shuffle back your hand. And if you're not shuffling back your hand, discarding the top card, if it's not a Metagross, would obviously give you a higher chance of playing your Emergency Entry. So Primordial Altar is obviously not really that good though, because you are discarding the top card. You're forced to discard it. And that means you could actually end up discarding the wrong cards, the wrong resource. If you have, for example, too many energies in the discard pile, we have no Clara, we're not playing anything but Raihan to retrieve the energy. So if we don't have enough energy anymore in our deck or in our hand, then we can't actually use the attack. We can't play Treasure Rush, we can't play Continuous Spin, we can't attack with Astral Misfortune, we can't do anything. So we have to be very careful though. That's probably the reason why we don't have either of those 2 cards. We have no Expedition Uniform either, just because we can't really fit the space for it. We need extra consistency for this deck to work, just because it is a stage 1 deck. We are playing a stage 1 Pokemon though. We need not just the tool card, but also the stage 1 evolution for Milotic and also for Forretress. We also need the energy, that 1 single energy, and that's the reason we're playing so many energies. Without the energy search, just because if you play Arven, you're not drawing as many cards. We don't really want to play Arven. That's why we only have 1 copy for this deck. If we play Arven for the tool card, it would be quite terrible because we are only adding 1 extra item into our hand. If we play a Schoolgirl, for example, we would actually get more cards into our hand while also playing the Blunder policy. And that's why we're playing 4 copies of that tool card to help us draw it out with our Schoolgirl instead of having to play Arven just to get 2 cards into our hand, which is quite terrible. So now we're up against a Mew VMAX, which is ideal for this deck just because we are doing a huge knockout. We are doing a one-hit KO against any Pokemon, a VMAX, V-Star, EX, and ideally we want to be matched up against a VMAX deck just because we are drawing a lot more prizes for a one-hit knockout, and that's going to help us a lot with our Perrserker. We just need 2 Perrserker to kill off 2 VMAX Pokemon for the win, because that's actually giving us all 6 prizes in 2 turns. Okay, so I don't see any Meloetta right now, which is really good news because it's actually pretty annoying if they have that card in play and the Mew VMAX on the bench. We are actually forced to do double boss just to finish the game. If we play one boss though, if we play that one boss at the right time, we could actually finish off the game by killing the Genesect on the bench. 1 VMAX, 1 Meloetta, and 1 Genesect is all we need to win the game. But we still need 3 strikes though. How are we going to do 3 strikes with 2 Perrserkers, right? Because Mew VMAX can obviously kill off the first Perrserker quite easily. We're going to have to deal with the Meloetta with our Forretress, hopefully doing a knockout with continuous spin, and then finish off the Mew VMAX with our Perrserker with another Genesect knockout using our second Treasure Rush. So hopefully that's the way to go. We have also Aster Misfortune, by the way, for the insta-kill, insta-knockout. But we ideally want to be playing that for a high HP Pokemon, because if we have a Blunder policy attached to it, we could actually get ourselves a free knockout. So they're playing double turbo, no Fusion Strike energy, but they have a Path to the Peak in play right now. So Path to the Peak is going to shut down Jirachi's ability. I'm pretty sure they knocked out Jirachi already at some point in the game. Have they drawn their first prize? I'm not actually too sure. I can't really see the prize right now because my screen is quite small. The recording screen right now, sorry guys. But if they knock out the Jirachi on the last turn, one of the last turn with the path in play, we are not actually allowed to search our deck with Entrusted Wishes. So obviously Jirachi is a rule box Pokemon, and Path to the Peak not just shuts down our Jirachi's ability, it also shuts down any V Pokemon's ability as well. But fortunately we're not playing any Lumineon V or any Kricketune for this deck. Those are the only options for V Pokemon abilities. Support abilities for standard right now, unfortunately. No more Eldegoss V, no more Crobat V, which is a huge thing. It's a big deal that we don't have Dark Asset anymore in the game. We are going to get Mew EX though for the next set, which actually allows you to do the same as your Kricketune. It has the ability that allows you to draw cards until you have 3 cards in your hand, and you are allowed to stack the ability. So you have more than one Mew EX in play, you're allowed to use it more than once. But for Kricketune, you're only allowed to play, it's kind of different from Kricketune, because Kricketune actually gives you an extra draw. You're allowed to draw cards until you have 4 cards in your hand if you have the Kricketune in the active spot. Mew EX does not have that. Mew EX doesn't have the bonus draw, but you actually get to stack the ability though. For Kricketune, you're not allowed to stack it. So that's the minor detail for the ability, but I feel like Mew EX is kind of a liability though, because it has very low HP, it's kind of the same as Kricketune HP wise, but we have Charm of Courage, which I'm not sure if it's actually going to help Mew EX, because we actually need to stack, if we want to stack the ability, we need more than 1 Charm of Courage attached to a support Pokemon. So we're actually not attacking with the Mew, we're basically just supporting the support Pokemon using our tool card, and we need to be thinking about other conditions as well. We want to be satisfying our attack cost, we want to be satisfying our draw support and everything else, and if we play that many Charm of Courage, we would have not enough space for energies or evolutions or, you know, balls, any other cards that make the deck a lot more consistent. If we play Mew EX with the Charm of Courage engine, it would make the deck a lot less consistent and a lot less smooth. It would be a lot more difficult to play because you're only drawing up to 3 cards in your hand as well. You kind of have to play nothing but items in your hand, in your deck. It's going to be a lot more difficult to play Mew EX than you think. But it is a basic though, I guess, and that means you get to easily bench it from the very start and start drawing cards like mad. It's kind of the same as Genesect, except, you know, it's only 3 cards. I keep saying that, but 3 is honestly quite terrible. You can also attack with it. For 3 colorless, you get to copy any one of our opponent's attacks, but it's kind of quite costly, if you ask me. 3 energies is just too much, because we can't actually play Reversal for it since it's a rule box Pokemon and obviously not an evolution. Reversal does not work on Mew EX, and Double Turbo is reducing your damage done by it by 20, and if you attack with your Mew EX, it's obviously going to get knocked out on your next turn because it has very low HP, so I feel like consistency wise is almost not there yet. It kind of needs some other, maybe some other trainer cards to make it a lot stronger. Maybe an item that complements Mew EX specifically. Who knows what Pokemon is going to come up with next, but that's my thought on Mew EX. So yeah. But we got a lot of new supporter cards though coming for Standard. For Scarlet and Violet, which is pretty cool. New supporter cards, new draw engines, and I'm so excited about that. Anyways, I'm just going to leave you guys for silent gameplay now. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Today we are featuring our Forretress Blunder policy combo using our continuous spin to do unlimited damage. Give us a potential of doing unlimited damage, 50x for each heads that we flip, flipping coins for as long as we get heads for. The first time you get tails though, you are not allowed to flip any more coins. So if you flip, for example, 5 heads in a row, with your continuous spin, you're doing 250 damage, knocking out a Miraidon EX with 1 hit, knocking out a basic EX with 1 hit, which is crazy. We also have our Radiant Jirachi to help us search for any 3 cards from the deck, drawing even more cards into our hand, preparing for us to do big damage with our Perrserker. We have our Schoolboy to draw 4 cards consistently every single turn, or at least 3 cards at a time with our Avery and Wallace. We also have Blunder policy for Jirachi as well to draw 3 cards if we flip a tails for Astral Misfortune. We have Experience Share Raihan for Jirachi to attack. We have even our Metagross from Silver Tempest, giving us an additional 3 card potential, additional draw into our hand. If we draw Metagross from the top deck at the start of our turn, if we have it at the top deck drawn out, we actually get to play it directly onto the bench and use the ability to draw 3 more cards into our hand, giving us even more damage in the game with our Treasure Rush. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye from me, people. Enjoy life.